Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the BOCC meeting for August 30th, 2022. Would you all please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, gentlemen, the first thing we have on our agenda are the minutes of our last meeting. Do we have any additions, corrections, or what's your pleasure?
Go ahead, Joe.
I move to approve the minutes of Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County for August 23rd, 2022 as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the proceedings of the Board of Commissioners, Montezuma County, August 23rd, 2022. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next up is planning. Don and Sherry Jane, if you want to come on down. And the first thing we have on our agenda this morning is we have a public hearing. So Kim, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Candelaria.
Here.
Commissioner Lindsay.
Here.
Commissioner Copenhaver.
Here.
Administrator Anderson.
Here.
Attorney McLaren.
Here.
Kim Purcell, Montezuma County Clerk and Recorder. Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing for review and determination of a proposed two-lot minor and AR 3-9 rezoning application submitted by William and Katherine Voiles on property located at 13550 Road 42, Mancus, Colorado, consisting of 27.50 acres more or less, located east of Road 42, situated in Section 2, Township 36 North, Range 13 West, N.M.P.M. The hearing will be held Tuesday, August 30th, 2022 at 9 a.m. in the Commissioner's Hearing Room, Montezuma County Administrative Offices, 109 West Main, Cortez, Colorado. Interested persons may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the Planning Office online services at https://montezuma-co.smartgovcommunity.com public home. You may also contact the Planning Department at 970-565-2801 with questions. Dated the 8th day of August, 2022, Kim Purcell, Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado. Published in the Journal on Wednesday, August 17th, 2022.
Okay, thank you, Kim.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mrs. Voiles is here.
Aye.
Good morning. Okay.
So they
give us-
are proposing to split off 3 acres and the rental house from their 27-acre property. That's basically it. The person renting it is looking to buy that property from them. The only the only contingency that P&Z had, there was an old storage shed or a boat carport about where that boundary line is proposed, and they just took that out, so there's not a setback variance request or anything there. That's why you see that little structure there.
So that's gone?
That's been removed. That's basically it.
Okay. Questions, gentlemen?
No, not at this time.
Is this the septic on that? Where is it located at?
Yeah, there's a septic system for both residences.
His question is, where is it located
Where is
at?
it located at?
Is it up there, right by County Road 42 in that area up there?
So the septic for the house, our main house?
No, not the main house,
Oh,
the
the
rental house that's being
new-
split off with this 3
Yeah.
acres.
There's a cement lid, right? So it's like in the back of the cabin, like
Okay.
just not far from the back door. It's probably,
I think what Commissioner
15 feet.
Copenhaver is getting at is to make sure that that septic system is incorporated into that 3 acres so that we don't have to come back later and have a boundary line on a plat and the septic system is then on the other properties. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, it's on that 3-acre property. It goes like from the back, kind of out this way, I would
Okay,
say.
as long
Yeah.
as it's included in
South
that
side.
3 acres and it's not something that's going to
Not
be
a-
on the other piece of property.
Right, no, it is not. It is included in the 3 acres.
Travis, can you bring up the survey plat? It may be depicted on there.
It might be.
Is that on the bear dance portion?
Correct. That's when I emailed you. Shows the house. I don't think it shows the septic though. If you'll zoom in there. Yeah, it looks like there's plenty of room there.
See the
And if
cistern?
you'll
Does
notice at the narrow portion there, it's 52 point something feet distance there. But we don't need 60 feet. We're not gonna
Correct.
subdivide or have access to that back part with any other development, other than maybe a residence.
Don, I have a question. It looks like most of the zoning around there is bigger chunks. We're looking for AR 3 through 9. Do you see any possibility that the AR 3 through 9 in that area would create any significant adverse impacts for properties around there?
No, P&Z looked at it, and one commissioner wanted to know why it wasn't 5 acres or more, but they don't want to sell 5 acres, they want to sell 3, and the buyer wants to only buy 3, so that's how the 3 acres came about, but no, P&Z didn't have a problem with that.
Okay. Would you like to add anything else, Catherine?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then we'll go ahead and open this up for public comment. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this application, come forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you may address the board. Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public comment session of this hearing, and I'll bring it back to the commissioners. Is there anything else, Don? It was unanimous from planning and zoning?
I believe it was a 4-to-1 vote.
Okay, and that was just, the one vote was just because of the acreage,
Correct,
5 to the 3.88, okay.
correct.
All right, commissioners, anything else?
I have nothing else.
No, I don't
Okay.
have any problem with it, as long as that's all on that property, it's fine.
I would so move, we approve the proposed 2-lot minor and AR 3 through 9 rezoning application submitted by William and Katherine Voiles on property located at 13550 Road 42, Mancus.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to accept the proposed 2-lot minor and AR 3 through 9 rezoning application submitted by William and Catherine
Voiles.
Yes.
on property located at 13550 Road 42, Mancus, Colorado, consisting of 27.5 acres more or less. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I will close
Thank
this public hearing. There you go. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, 9:10, we have another public hearing. Do you have the applicants here? Don?
Vernon's not here.
I don't see the agent here yet,
Okay.
but we can progress without him.
Sure. Well, we'll wait another 35 seconds and then we can go.
China clock says 9:10. But they're ahead of us.
Yeah.
That's the come to work clock.
That's the go home clock.
Uh-huh.
In front of you, Ian.
Okay, it is 9:10, and Kim, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Candelaria.
Here.
Commissioner Lindsey.
Here.
Commissioner Copenhaver.
Here.
Administrator Anderson.
Here.
Attorney McLaren.
Here.
Kim Purcell, Montezuma County Clerk and Recorder. Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing for review and determination of a proposed single-lot development and AR 3-9 rezoning application submitted by Don and Sarah Crowley, agent Vernon Hoffman, on property located at 6310 Road 24.5, Cortez, Colorado, consisting of 40 acres more or less, located south of Road G, east of Road 24.5, situated in Section 10, Township 35 North, Range 16 West, N.M.P.M. The hearing will be held Tuesday, August 30th, 2022 at 9:10 a.m. in the Commissioners' Hearing Room, Montezuma County Administrative Offices, 109 West Main, Cortez, Colorado. Interested persons may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the Planning Office online services at https://co-montezuma-co.smartgovcommunity.com public home. You may also contact the Planning Department at 970-565-2801 with questions. Dated this 15th day of August, 2022, Kim Purcell, Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado. Published in the Journal on Wednesday, August 17th, 2022.
All right, thank you, Kim. Okay, Don, give us an overview on this one.
So Don and Sarah Crowley are wanting to separate their house and almost 5 acres from their ag land. So it's just a single lot development. Pretty standard. P&Z was unanimous to recommend it for approval. All utilities, everything's there. They tried to sell it as a full piece, but there's not a lot of market for that right now for some reason anyway, but they're looking to split it, and they've already got people lined up that are more than interested, so.
Okay. Questions, gentlemen?
No, I know this property and it looks good to me.
I don't have it.
Okay. Well, with that, I will open this up for public comment. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this application, please come forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you may address the board. All right, seeing no public comment, I'll close the public comment session of this, and I'll bring it back to the commissioners.
I have no other questions.
No, I know the property too, so I don't have any problem with it either.
Okay.
I move to approve the single lot development and AR 3-9 rezoning application submitted by Don and Sarah Crowley at 6310 Road 24.5, Cortez, Colorado.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the proposed single lot development and AR 3-9 rezoning applications submitted by Don and Sarah Crowley, agent Vernon Hoffman, on property located at 6310 Road 24.5, Cortez, Colorado. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I will close this public hearing. This is, gonna be way easy today, Don. 9:13, and I have to wait another
You want to take care of these while we're at
7.
it?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay.
Let's look at pull up resolution number,
9/10/2022 and resolution 10/2022. I would so move that we adopt resolution number 9/2022, which is a bank signature authorization for the new Montezuma County Administrator, whereas the Montezuma County, Colorado Board of County Commissioners appointed Travis Anderson as the new Montezuma County Administrator after the resignation of Shaq Powers. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Montezuma County, Colorado, that 1, newly appointed Montezuma County Administrator Travis Anderson is authorized to execute and sign all documents necessary to open bank accounts and to sign checks, drafts, or withdrawals. And 2, this resolution replaces and voids any previous authorization for Mr. Powers as a signatory effective immediately.
Second.
two of them, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept resolution number 9/2022, bank signature Authorization for the new Montezuma County Administrator. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is this the same thing, Travis? You just have two
No, there's
resolution
two
numbers?
different. One was for the bank and the other is for general documents.
Gotcha.
And I would also move we adopt resolution number 10, 2022, signature authorization for new Montezuma County Administrator. Whereas the Montezuma County, Colorado Board of County Commissioners appointed Travis Anderson as the new Montezuma County Administrator after the resignation of Shaq Powers. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners that, one, newly appointed Montezuma County Administrator Travis Anderson replaces Mr. Powers as the authorized Montezuma County representative to execute and sign all documents that Mr. Powers was previously the signatory for, and two, the resolution replaces and voids any previous authorization for Mr. Powers as signatory effective immediately.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept resolution number 10, 2022, the signature authorization for the new Montezuma County Administrator. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have time to do the SRS too.
Yeah.
You want to pull up the SRS decision, Travis? Okay, gentlemen, we had our meeting last week with the school boards, or not school boards, with the school administration, and we have the allocations that the SRS has sent out. Now that we have had our meeting, we need to make it so that they get their proper allocations. They are going to split it up per student enrollment within the schools. Mancus with 453, Dolores 661, and Cortez with 2538. Those percentages break down to 12.5, 18%, and 69.5%. So the allocation of the 47,693.03 will be split in that percentages. So
And so, Commissioner, I think there's a couple different things you need to do. You need to discuss what you're just discussing, and then certainly that discretionary 50%, we need
Getting ready.
to address that as well. Okay, sorry.
And then the 50% that's discretionary, which we are going to move into the Road and Bridge Fund to help us with our County Road F and S project. And so the allotment will be going to Road and Bridge, will be their 25%, which is by statute, along with the 50% discretion that we have. So they'll be getting 75% of the total allocation from the SRS. The SRS funding that we got this year was $190,772.13. I think that pretty much lays it out. Did I forget anything?
I don't think so. We'll just need a motion in a second.
So,
I move to approve the SRS funding distribution as to be 25% for the schools and 75% to go to the road and bridge for this year.
Second.
okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the allocation distribution of 75% to Road and Bridge and 25% to the schools. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, be at 9:20, we do have another public hearing. Would you call the roll, Kim?
Commissioner Candelaria,
Here.
Commissioner Lindsey,
Here.
Commissioner Copenhaver,
Here.
Administrator Anderson,
Here.
Attorney McLaren.
Here.
Kim Purcell, Montezuma County Clerk and Recorder. Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing for a review and determination of a proposed boundary line adjustment application for the Simmons Single Lot Development submitted by Patsy Lou Simmons, Agent Dennis Giesler, on property located at 25409 Road H, Cortez, Colorado, consisting of 21.16 acres more or less, situated east of Road 25, north of Road H, situated in Section 35, Township 36 North, Range 16 West, N.M.P.M. The hearing will be held Tuesday, August 30th, 2022, at 9:20 a.m. in the Commissioners' Hearing Room, Montezuma County Administrative Offices, 109 West Main, Cortez, Colorado. Interested persons may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the Planning Office online services at https://co-montezuma-co.smartgovcommunity.com, public home. You may also contact the Planning Department at 970-565-2801 with questions. Dated this 15th day of August 2022, Kim Purcell, Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado, published in the Journal on Wednesday, August 17th, 2022.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Mr. Giesler, would you come forward, please? Okay, Don?
Patsy Simmons, Dennis's mom, is looking to sell her property, and prior to that, Kim and Dennis, who have the 1.23 acre property there at the northeast, would like to do a boundary line adjustment for the 5 acres that are on the east side of the access roads. And basically, it's a boundary line adjustment, but because it's a single lot development, it's going through the subdivision process. So the dotted line there would be the part of the parcel that would be connected to their 1.23 acres, leaving a balance of just over 16 acres for the original property. And that will be the amendment to the single lot development plat.
Okay. Would you like to add anything?
No, it's really pretty basic. She's just taking that chunk of property and putting it over on mine.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Commissioners, questions?
Oh, this is pretty simple, straightforward, and
Yeah.
we're making a nice bigger lot.
Okay. With that, I'll open this up for public comment. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this application, you may come forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you may address the board. Okay, seeing no public comment, I'll close this public comment session of this hearing and bring it back to the Commissioners. Gentlemen,
No further questions.
okay,
I don't have any problems with it.
all right.
I would so move we adopt the proposed boundary line adjustment application for the Simmons single lot development submitted by Patsy Lou Simmons, Agent Dennis Giesler, located on property located at 25409 Road H, Cortez, Colorado.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the proposed boundary line adjustment application for the Simmons single lot development submitted by Patsy Lou Simmons, Agent Dennis Giesler, on property located at 25409 Road H, Cortez, Colorado, consisting of 21.16 acres more or less. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, I'll close this public hearing.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis. Have a good day. Okay, any other items?
Sent out half a dozen letters last week for non-compliant properties, so you've heard back from a couple, and I've heard back from one, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay,
People putting RVs on their property without being permitted.
Come here.
Putting
Yeah, that was-
RVs
that
right
was
on
off anyway.
property lines to live in while they build a house, which still isn't legal, not compliant. So, more of the same.
You know, I was looking at a letter or an email that correspondence kind of going back between the realtors and GIS, just on some of the stuff for addressing, which is kind of a different subject, but you know, here again, how do we continue to educate our public that there's still certain criteria that have to be met before you just,
Well, I mean, it wasn't that hard for me to figure out. You click on the dot and you read the information GIS has on there, and it tells you when the address was either approved,
I understand that,
coordinated. I mean, all that needs to be done with the realtors prior to selling it, so the selling documents are accurate. That's what we look at when people are wanting to subdivide, build a house,
do
whatever.
we need to set up a training with the realtors, the board of realtors, or, I mean,
Doug is going to do some short training paragraph or something. He's supposed to receive all 115 emails for all the realtors. I went to the realtors board in December and went through the whole land use code, just to let them know what needs to be done. Anybody building anything, they need to contact our office. Septic systems, you can't just park RVs out there and start renting them on whatever website. You can't just move in tiny houses. You can't just start building more houses because you have vacant open space where you already have 1 or 2 or 3 houses on it. Main point is we may not have a building department, but we do have regulations. Never tell anybody that you can do whatever you want in Montezuma County, because that's not true. It's inaccurate, it's false. And people moving in apparently aren't getting the word, but I don't know. If they don't want to know, they're not going to look.
right? Okay.
One item, one letter that was sent was on a trash pile dump on a property, and the message I got back Saturday was that they just collect it all year and burn it in the winter, but that's still not compliant. Get a burn barrel, burn it every week if you have trash.
And then
You don't build a landfill and then say, oh, I'll burn it this winter,
right?
because this pile is not small.
Which we've seen a lot of those that we're trying to address too, that the piles are not anywhere close to small.
Right.
So,
Yeah, people get their pickup trailer bed trailers, and then they start putting their trash bags in them, and they never take them to the dump, and then they pile them around, and then they just keep piling. So,
okay.
per the land use code, either burn it, and if it's your own waste, you can't haul in trash and materials from another property to burn on your property, and you can't have your trash leave your property by the wind or whatever, and you have to show evidence of trash service. That's in the land use code. It's not
Okay.
anything new. Don't let trash pile up on your property, bottom line.
Okay. Anything else? No? All right. Okay.
I do have a question.
Mhm.
Why, like on this last single lot development, did we not zone that?
Do we not what?
Why did we not zone that? This last deal that we did, why did we not zone it when we?
Oh, the zoning won't change.
It's still
They're
zoned.
they're currently AR 3-9 at 1.23, and they're adding 5 acres, so they're still AR 3-9.
How can they be 3 to 9 if they're 1 point something acres?
Well, that was created by an exemption before, so it has no place other than 3-9. We've got dozens of those small
I
properties
know, but that's not,
that don't meet the 3-9, but that's the lowest AR zoning we have. There's also an R3 zoning, but again, because our minimum new lot size
Yes.
acreage is 3 acres, they all just defer back to the 3 to whatever. But it's already AR 3 to 9, so that zoning won't change. And it won't change for Mrs. Simmons as well at 10 to 34. It goes from 21 to
Yeah, I
16.
can understand that.
Okay,
All right.
all right, thank
All
you,
we got.
guys. Okay, with that, we are now at the public comment session. The Board of County Commissioners welcomes you to this meeting. Person speaking during the public comment will be limited to 3 minutes, or depending on the number of people wishing to speak, it may be reduced to allow all the members of the public the opportunity to address the board. When addressing the board, please state your name and address for the record prior to providing your comments. And comments to individual supervisors or staff are not permitted, and participants may not yield their time to others. And with that, the public comment session is open. You may come forward, sir.
Board of Commissioners, thank you for having me here today, this morning. My name is Michael Bischoff. Mailing address, care to food, Sam's Food Bank, 30 Birch Street, 85123, or actually P.O. Box 662, 85123, I suppose, -0662. Message text number for me is 719-831-3725. 719-831-3725. I'm here to represent the most vulnerable citizens of this community. I've been on the streets here in Cortez 3 to 4 years. Saddens my heart that I'm here this morning to, I feel as if there's discrimination at the senior center with regard to the sustenance they provide. Food, lunches, food boxes, etc. I was informed the other day, last week, that there was a mandatory $5 charge for lunch. And quite frankly, I'm a little confused because I believe it's a publicly funded service to seniors of this community or public at large. So with that being said, I was requesting a formal complaint form for the county. I previously served as a school board member, and we had complaint forms on the school district and public comments such as this. So I appreciate you taking the time and all your services to this community. I know it's a lot of work, and you got the high-paying job, don't you? That's what I did the school board for, right? 10 to 20 hours a week, and parents come up and telling me I hate kids and this and that. You know, that's emotional. School boards I had no idea what I was getting into. Anywho, 4 years service, didn't get into the military. I was too young. Well, I signed up for the service, but they didn't need me at that point in time. So with that, again, thank you for your time, and I honor your services to this community. Thank you. Bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next. Okay, seeing no further comment, I'll close the public comment session of this meeting, and we're gonna move on. Next we have on our agenda, we have SHS, Southwest Health Systems. Would you ladies like to come down? Miss Gentry, our new CEO, and I see that you have
Yeah,
Two-
I'd like to introduce to you Julie Leonard. She's our new CFO. She took Rick's place at the hospital, if you remember Rick Short.
Mhm.
And Lisa she's our CNO, our chief nursing officer. So they join me because they know more than I do. So, thank you for having us update you again. The hospital is doing well right now. We are still financially sound, no problems with the banks or anything like that. That's one of our focuses right now, is to stay that way and manage our cash. The loans that we have a covenant that we can't go less than 80 days cash on hand, and that's right where we are. So we're trying to make sure that we keep it that way, and that means we kind of have to pace our spending. But we are really, our other focus is fixing a lot of the infrastructure things with the building. As you know, that building's kind of a patchwork of buildings. It's been added onto and added onto. And the oldest parts of it definitely have some problems with the piping, electrical, there's all sorts of things, our boiler. So we're trying to make a schedule to fix all of those, but we have to pace it so that we don't spend too much of our cash. The banks are also working with us on maybe re-amortizing our loan schedule so that we would have a little bit more cash to put towards those infrastructure things, because they want the building to be good too. I would say our number one priority right now is just helping our culture change from crisis management to flourishing and growing. You know that we went through a really bad financial time. 2018, we got put on forbearance with the banks. We got out of that last year. But in the meantime, COVID started. So our whole culture there is kind of like, what's going to happen next? Are we going to have layoffs? Are we going to, it's just panicky. And we're trying to settle everybody down and say, hey, things are going well. There's no reason for panic. And now we get to grow and do new things that are good instead of just reacting to things coming our way. So those are kind of our focus. We are starting to work on a 5-year strategic plan. When I got here, there wasn't really one other than survive. and I think that we need to have at least a 5-year, if not a 10-year plan for what are we going to do with staffing, with our services, with our facilities, with everything. So that's a big focus right now, is to put together a valid 5-year strategic plan. And I think everybody's excited to work on that. So I'll let Lisa say a few words, and then Julie can tell us about finances.
So before I get to you, Lisa, I have a few questions because obviously SHS is one function of the hospital and the MCHD is the other function of the hospital. And so do you guys have to pay MCHD for the infrastructure upgrades, or do they do all the infrastructure upgrades?
So our lease agreement between SHS and MCHD is when there's new things, MCHD builds those new things. When there's things that need to be repaired or updated with the existing building, that's our responsibility through SHS.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying,
So you do all the maintenance and repair, and they do anything that's new?
yes.
Anything
yes.
that's new infrastructure or new building or new whatever?
Right. And
Okay.
sometimes we meet with them and say, hey, we need to do this work on the boiler, it's a big project, or an air handling unit, are really, at least $1 million projects. Can you help us financially? And then we work on that together. We've had some projects like that in the last 5 years. So it's not, absolutely black and white, but in the lease agreement, SHS is responsible for all of that. So the tax referendum that passed in May, doing away with the sunset, helped with the future funding, because it was already committed through the end of 2030. So that future funding, we could use a lot to pay off that debt, or to refinance the whole thing, to pay off the debt differently and faster. So we're still discussing how that would be used, and, after 2030. But until then, it's already committed to the banks.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Uh-huh.
Hello, Commissioners.
Good morning.
From a clinical operations standpoint, have high volumes. Our emergency department has higher volumes than we've seen in the past 13 years that I've been here. We are actively continuing to follow our CDC guidelines for masking mandates, isolations, visitor restrictions. I know that may be hard sometimes for the community to understand when elsewhere masks are not mandated, however, come to the hospital and masks are required. Doing our best to support our public with that, and also our visitation. Want our families to be together when they can, but also, mitigating safety with our other patients and with our staff. So please know that we are still held to a higher standard for masking and guidelines, and obviously are having to report on that to CDPHE, our Board of Health, with the state. So things are going well, but I think as we continue on and, masking continues to be questioned, I just want to put that out there if you hear from the community as why we're doing what we're doing. I also want to address, apparently there was a rumor in the community, which you may have heard or may be approached, of Southwest was having a policy as far as approaching our patients as friend versus, by their names or sir or ma'am. That's not true. That's not a policy for Southwest Health. Diversity training is definitely a healthcare requirement of what everyone goes through, what we want to do, but also we want to be respectful with our community and our population. So please just know that is not true. So not quite sure how far out that is in the community, but want you guys to be aware of that. So any questions for me?
I'm glad to see you put on a therapist out there.
Yes. Yes, we're very excited about that. We're pushing through a more robust case management program within the facility, which adds case managers into our emergency department. We have significant need for our population of just that extra touch and extra support of finding resources and, managing care through our healthcare system, because as you know, it's very complicated. It's, you need a lot of different players involved to even have one potential healthcare visit. So looking at building that, which will only build further for keeping our inpatients here within the facility that we can, preventing as many transfers out. It's very hard on our families when, their loved ones are transferred even to Grand Junction. So we're working on keeping our population here. We have a broad range of services and intelligence and care that we can provide here at Southwest. So we're making the most of that and building that, and then also building case management further in our plan for the clinic. So it's a very complicated life in healthcare.
Thank you.
I do have a question, just because of our dealings with CDPHE also. I mean, everything that we get from CDPHE comes as recommendations. So
Yes.
you said you have to deal with them on your masking. Are those coming as recommendations, or are those coming as requirements?
No, those are requirements from both.
So how do they put that requirement on you when everything else is recommendations?
Yeah.
So if you think about where do the sickest of the sick go, it's us. And so there are tighter requirements on a hospital than there are everywhere else. And CDC guidelines are still that, above a certain positivity rate, that we all have to wear masks in our hospital.
And I understand that, but I also understand the term guidelines. And
Sure.
typically, guidelines are just what they say. So,
Yeah.
and I'm just asking these questions because I've been sitting here since we've had to start dealing with this
Yeah.
entire thing.
I know.
And you talk about guidelines, you talk about SOPs or SOGs. Those are all guidelines or suggested recommendations. So we do hear all kinds of things in the community. Obviously, we get the first
Sure.
phone calls. So basically just asking the question is who in your leadership, I'm assuming probably all three of you, makes those decisions of when you will follow, or do you just strictly stay to the absolute guideline? Or do you ever deviate due to population? I mean, we're not, we don't have the density that the Front Range has. I'm just asking the
Absolutely.
question because there are a lot of deviations that you can deviate from a guideline.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's
who
true.
makes those decisions?
Our senior team, and we have a special committee of cross-functional, folks that actually make recommendations about COVID-related kinds of things. It's also trying to deal with some of the OSHA requirements for hospitals, so it's not just CDHP. It's a variety of different agencies. And we have doctors saying yes or no to a lot of things. So we're trying to take everybody's input into account. I'll tell you, the last 2 winters, we've hardly had a flu season. And it's not just here, it's every hospital, because I believe partly it was more conscientiousness on people. We were doing a lot more stay home if you're sick. Don't come to work if you're sick. And we were wearing masks. And those things that we've been emphasizing during COVID are helping with a lot of other communicable diseases here. We're trying to get put together right now so that we can be the place in our region that has monkeypox vaccines, because that's the next scare coming down the pike for people. And so we're taking into account a lot of different factors, but we do require masks still, and I think it's a good idea when you're around really sick people. So we'll continue that until we get different information about it.
Do you have any anticipation? And I'm just asking the questions that were
Yeah.
being asked of us, so
Yeah.
I'm an echo, because, I mean, there's at some point in time,
Yeah,
we actually have to get back to being somewhat normal,
Yeah.
Is this is still not normal, people, I can read your faces. I can tell what
Yeah.
all of you were thinking just by looking at you and
Right.
reading your faces. You can't do that as you're masking up. And I understand you're in a different facility. I get that. But
Yeah.
still, at some point in time, when you're working on a 5-year plan for your infrastructure, but where's your 5-month plan for this? Or that's what I'm asking, because we do hear it.
Yeah, I know, and we hear it too.
So that's what I'm saying.
Continue to work on
So,
that.
being in the fire service for 30 years, I had all kinds of guidelines from every agency in the world.
Right.
Always a guideline.
Yeah.
So, you know, 2 in and 2 out. You couldn't go in with 2 guys unless you had 2 guys outside. Well, there are a lot of times that you
Didn't have that
had to
many
do
people.
what you had to do. So
Right.
I'm just asking, are you that stringent on these guidelines that you're just going to stay, we're going to hold it as a guideline and we're never going to deviate, or is there any deviation? I mean,
No, it's a constant, as Jeannie said. It's, we have meetings between the COVID team, look at what our positivity rates are, and then we also look internally as far as even our employee positivity rate. I will say 2 weeks after school started, have had significant staff sick. And
but
if-
that's not uncommon.
It's not uncommon.
That's not
It's not
uncommon.
uncommon. I will say, so we're looking at as far as functionality within the hospital and saying, you know, with masking and those employees who may have worked sick, but with masking have not spread it elsewhere. And especially like in our high-risk areas, the guidelines really, once a surveyor comes in for DNB, we're regulated by that for our CMS certification for critical access. They will come in, and other hospitals have been surveyed as well, of what are you doing to prove safety? Are you, even temperature screening is still a hot topic. You know, where is your level of keeping staff safe, which is where the OSHA comes in. So no, is it an ongoing forever? Because we live it, breathe it every day, and don't want masking to be the norm, because we obviously feel the same as you. So in the meantime, looking at internally what makes the most sense for keeping everybody safe and going from there. So we have, such as, you know, meeting rooms at a certain amount. Those are all really mandated by CDC and OSHA within the healthcare facility. So until that changes, where we're held to what we need to do for, especially for regulators, we're due for an on-site survey here in a month and a half, and talking with other hospitals within the state, that's been one of their dings of finding is if they are not having a process in place, monitoring staff, patients, and masking, have been still given action plans to that.
Okay.
So we'll continue to work on it. It's a thorn in my side every week.
Oh, it's a thorn in everybody's side
It
every
is.
week. It's just a matter of, I mean, we get to address you guys once in a while where most people don't, but we hear everything, trust me.
Yeah,
We hear every complaint about every facility
yeah.
in this county, whether we have anything to do with it or not, which obviously we don't have anything other than just communication with you guys, so I'm just asking the questions.
Yeah,
And it's good to hear, which we'll hear from Julie here in a minute, that we're at 80-plus days, and
Yeah.
that's great. That's
yeah,
a
we gotta say
financial
that.
thing, that's a good thing.
Do you want to give us a brief update?
So we'll put you on the spot now.
I know, that's not fair. So, my first time here, so be gentle.
Okay.
So I will say that, oh, I know I don't talk very loud. I will say Rick left the hospital in great condition, which is good for me, because now I can take it to the next level and continue what he started, and move us forward to where Jeannie's goal, our goal is we would love to have 120 days cash on hand, but we're taking baby steps. We're looking at 85 days. So every single day's cash on hand is the equivalent of $200,000. So we have to be very careful to make sure our spend isn't more than our revenue. My piece is I'm working on budgeting. I'm working on making sure that we are viable for the future, so our strategic plan that we're working on moves us in that direction. So for that, I thank Rick and everybody at the hospital for doing what they did in the last 3.5 years to get us to this point. The financials you have, we're doing well. We are sitting at 80 days, 80.1 days cash on hand. The June narrative is that we had a total cash collection in excess of 5.5 million. So we are doing well on our cash collections. We're also working on our service lines, making sure that we are charging appropriately and collecting appropriately as we look at the books and everything else and build the budget. I won't go through all of this because it's a lot. I just want to reiterate that in June, July, and now coming at the end of August, we are still continuing that 80 days cash on hand, and we expect to be there at the end of the year and then continue the growth. I actually am budgeting so that we will continue growing cash on hand throughout next year to hit that 85 days. I don't know what else I can tell you, so please ask questions. It's easier for me.
Yeah.
Do you live here or in Florida?
No, I came from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I've been here for almost a full month now. I started August 1st, and I will be moving here. We're in the process. My husband's still there, and we're trying to sell the house. The market's so up and down, but he'll be joining me here. I'm actually going to visit him for a couple days this week, and then he'll be joining me here towards the end of September, and we'll be buying here, living here, and I will be a part of this community, so.
Okay. You said to be easy. I was just asking because Rick never got that transition. He never moved. He stayed in Florida, and then now he's gone.
Right,
So-
right, so.
No, we don't want to do that.
It's easier
again.
when we actually have you to keep you here in the community. So, simple
Yeah.
question.
No, that's
Yep.
that's a fair question.
Being
And it is
easy.
a fair question. You have to be a part of the community that you're working in so that you have skin in the game.
Yes. I agree.
All right,
What-
gentlemen.
I'm
What-
good.
What percent of that you bill out are you actually getting back in?
So right now, we're looking at, we're about 73% of our collection rate. We're working on that too. One of the things that I love to do is I love budgeting. I know that's weird, but I also love looking at the contracts versus what we're collecting and making sure that our payers are paying what we're contracted at. So I know that right now we're sitting at about 73%. I just have to dive in and find out what's missing and what we're not being able to collect on and why.
Can you give us an approximation of what your indigent care level's at?
I don't have that answer right at
Okay.
this moment. Do you know?
No, I don't. Do you?
I know our self-pay is at 1.3%.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know what part of that is indigent. And with the Colorado option taking effect the first of the year, what they call the public option, that is supposed to reduce further. We'll see if they pay their bills, because that's the big thing that we see in anticipation of that. Several of the subcontractors, like Blue Cross, they're already sending us letters saying, we're going to cut your reimbursement 10%. And, there's revolt going through the state right now over that. The bigger hospitals, maybe they can weather that, but the little hospitals, we can't do that. And we have a lot of people on Medicaid.
You
So-
have to tell us.
I know. It's just very frustrating that they don't, in Denver, they don't seem to understand us littles out here. So we keep trying to tell them and trying our best. We did notify one Medicare carrier, Medicare Advantage, Humana, that we weren't going to do business with them after the first of the year. And we've sent letters to all the patients that we know that are signed up with them. They have sent letters. So there was some amount of scuttlebutt going in the community about that, but they just wouldn't pay. They had a million reasons why not to pay the claims. So we've tried for a couple of years to work with them on their billing procedures, and we finally got to the point where we needed to make that change. So everybody will have a better, probably option, a different option at least, to choose from at open enrollment this fall. So that's why the timing for the first of the year.
When it comes to companies like that, do you have any contact with the state insurance commissioner?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Are they doing you any good out of that office?
No?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to ask that because I knew probably that was the answer.
Yeah, they have different priorities, I think, that they're focused on than, I don't know.
What could their priorities be
I
besides
don't
insurance?
know. They don't seem to care that that's happening to us, you know, and we become the safety net ultimately for all these people. And that's just a lot of cut all at once. We wrote them back and said, okay, how about 2%? You know, we'll compromise, but 10 is too much. And we'll see how that goes. You know, it's interesting because the government can just pay you whatever they want, and you don't really have a say other than your elected officials, and it's hard to understand sometimes, you know, especially if they're busy looking at other things rather than the survivability of rural health care doesn't seem to be their priority. But I know it is all of ours, so we'll all keep at them.
It is all of ours.
Yep.
Yeah.
and I did want to point out that September 1st, the Hospital Discount Care Program is another program that is a service for those that can't afford health care, goes into effect. So we have several programs for this, but it's just another one that makes it easier for people to get health care and qualify for discounted or free services. So we are working frantically to make sure we're compliant with that as well.
Yeah, it's sort of, we've always had charity care programs in our hospitals, all of us, but this one mandated it and mandated a lot of different procedures that we have to follow.
So when they mandate them, just like we get mandated from the state, because this
Mhm.
county, like every other county, gets mandated from the state, but they
Yeah.
can't hand out unfunded mandates. When the state mandates
One
something.
would think, all they do is just not pay
You
us.
can't mandate if you're not gonna pick up the program. So we fight that all the time, and that's why my question to CDPHE came
Yeah.
up, because CDPHE is a function of the state.
Yes,
And just in our landfill, we fight with CDPHE, obviously a different division,
Uh-huh.
but it's
didn't know
all
that.
under the same umbrella, and we deal with them all of the time. Hence my questions for guidelines and the
Mhm.
things that we see and do, because it's, you know, you can sit up there in an ivory tower and say, hey, you're gonna do this, and they don't even know what we're doing down here.
yeah,
Makes it extremely difficult. So we question everything,
yep.
So- And,
and we go to the state quite often because we are there knocking
Good.
at the door
yeah.
to find out what's going on. So who do you guys use, or do you go personally and lobby for yourselves, or how do you do that?
So the hospital association is probably the most powerful. They have more of a voice about rural healthcare because they represent all of us. And they have a special division just for us littles, our critical access hospitals. So they do a lot of lobbying, but they'll ask some of us to go there from time to time and help make the point, you know, and tell the story for real. Because I think that legislators listen better to that than they do the lobbyist people. So we do go there sometimes. In fact, you went last time, right before we came here. Lisa and Rick had gone to the Capitol building and tried to talk to some people. So we'll continue to try to advocate because it's really for our community, not just the hospital. It's, we're it, and we've got to survive. And that we know that's a lot of pressure, a lot of responsibility, and it's an honor to try to help, you know, serve all these people. And they don't always understand what they're doing, but we have to help them understand. Okay, I think that's about it. We do need 3 more board members on the SHS board. So please, anybody that you know, I will talk with them and tell them how easy it is and how delightful and honorary it will be.
I don't think any board, whether it's school board, hospital board, this board, in the last 3 years has been anything but easy. I think people are extremely shy of any board right now. And
They are.
I hope you can fulfill that, but we definitely understand what you're going through.
Yeah, well.
So if you can sell that dream, you let me know how you do it.
All right. Well, we had 2 docs retire this past 6 months, Dr. Aiken and Dr. Baggy. And so they're both under my evil eye to get them onto the board because.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. I know they're having too much fun being retired. Well, thank you for letting us come and update you. We appreciate it.
And welcome to the community, Julie, and
Yeah.
hopefully you get your husband back here quickly, and then
Thank
you'll
you.
stay here.
Thank you
Won't be
very
going
much.
back
Thank you.
somewhere else.
Good to see you out, ladies.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
too.
So next on our agenda, we have Mancus Conservation District, and I see a different face that I recognize. Gretchen, come on up, and Ken Curtis with DWCD. I'll catch you guys together here. I don't know Sensa Wolcott, but
She's our watershed coordinator and been working with Vicki on the videos with the town, kind of on water conservation with Montezuma County, and so I think there was just some confusion on the agenda.
That's fine.
So
I have a
she's also
representative
with the
that
district.
I recognize, so that's great. If you guys will pull those mics to your mouth,
Go. All
because
right.
that way
Is that
the
better?
people on TV can hear you. We can hear you, but when it's recording, sometimes it's harder to hear if you don't have it right to your mouth. All right, who wants to go first?
You're on the list.
Gretchen?
All right. Well, I submitted our new newsletter, completed by some of our staff, our district manager, Neva Connolly, our watershed coordinator, Sensa Wolcott, and our new AmeriCorps Vista, Maggie Sandusky. One of the new things for the Conservation District is additional staff this year, which we're really super excited to have some additional staff just to help with a lot of these programs and some of the grant opportunities that have come through for conservation in the Mancus watershed. A couple of things that we didn't touch on in the newsletter update. We did enter into a partnership with the town of Mancus to work on some urban water conservation work, mostly outreach and education, to work on how can a community within an urban setting also be diligent with their water use and look at conserving at the urban level. And then the other brand new contract that we didn't touch on within our newsletter this month, we have just gone under contract with the Natural Resource Conservation Services, starting into what's called the PL 566 funding opportunity. We're in the preliminary stages of that, but we're looking at some of our older agricultural reservoirs and being able to help work with those reservoirs to update their aging infrastructure. And so that's a couple of pieces that I didn't touch on in the newsletter. And then I'd be happy just to answer questions. I don't necessarily need to go through the entire report, but would be happy to answer any questions on some of the things that were highlighted this month.
Okay, since you're not new, we don't have to be easy on you.
No, that's true.
Yeah. No,
Commissioner.
I went through, I don't have any questions. I mean, it's pretty straight up there. And Gerald, do you
Okay.
have anything?
Where are you doing the Beaver relocation?
So that was a property south of 160, and then we had a property owner up on the West Mancus tributary that was interested in having those beaver relocated. They were causing some issues in the Mancus River and then tunneling from their pond to an open irrigation ditch and diverting the entire ditch back to their pond. We did just finish up that project with Colorado Parks and Wildlife, but did not trap any beaver. You know, you can't necessarily tell the beaver where to go. And so we did try that and pilot it with the two landowners, but did not end up trapping anything and relocating them. There's a pretty short window when you can do that with Colorado Parks and Wildlife. And so we just tried it this year, piloting it, and worked with the landowners to try to do that.
Okay. I don't have anything, so
All right.
I'm gonna let you off easy.
Perfect.
All
Well,
right, we'll
thank you
go-
for letting me be here.
We'll go to Ken, and then that might,
I do have one more question.
Oh, sure.
What about the Weber ditch? Is it progressing at all as far as?
It is progressing. Unfortunately, you know, in the first 3 months of this year, the price of pipe went incredibly insane. And so they are currently working with the Bureau of Reclamation and their engineering firm. I believe they're going to be having a ditch meeting coming up here probably in the first couple weeks of September to kind of look at where they're currently at and some possible projections forward. It's just kind of currently on hold until they get all of that figured out. And I think the hope is that, you know, prices will decrease at some point. Maybe not back to where they were originally at the beginning of the year, but so far it's still moving forward, just slowly.
okay.
They got all the surveying and all that stuff done?
I believe so. I believe the project has completed the majority of their engineering survey and their habitat replacement plan that's required by the Bureau of Reclamation. A lot of their NEPA, a lot of their permitting. Just pipe, just those pipe prices. It's pretty rough.
Yeah, no, we understand that.
Yeah.
We just bid a bridge, and we're not anywhere close.
Yeah.
Understand. So, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, Ken?
Good morning. Almost to September, end of the season's starting to come into sight. Obviously, 2022, a lot better year than last year. Comparatively, we're about almost 40% of supply compared to 10% last year, so better, but certainly not good. Had a little bit more snow than expected, so we were able to start a little higher, and then the rains have certainly helped. Kept the fires down. River stayed up, if not tremendously, at least it hasn't tanked. Therefore, we've continued to inch our supply up to about 40%. Good news on Dove Creek, they're still planning a second pond, which was a major problem last year, trying to get them water to go through the winter. This year shouldn't be a problem. We'll give them a late run towards the end of September. They won't be under construction this year. They're in design, but we'll probably have it up and ready for next year. So upwards and onwards, and looking forward to the winter. Hopefully the rain will keep things, soil moisture in the right place through the fall, although they're anticipating a little bit drier conditions. So we'll monitor that through the fall. The one thing the rain has delayed, everybody's cutting from all the way south on the Utes all the way north. And so everybody's dragging water along, trying to get that second cut completely done, and third cut's gonna go late. even up north. So we're gonna be dribbling water up north, dribbling water down to the Utes, and I believe MBI will be going right to the end of October 15th. I'm sure Gerald can get into more detail on some of those issues. People are planning projects. We had projects in the work. We're working on screens up north. The Utes just turned on their first hydropower that drives their first pivot from an old Governor's Energy Office grant going back several years. Just went operational yesterday. MBI likewise has several projects in the queue, from Groundhog to an Ihop, and we just sent a letter of support for a Water Smart grant. See if they get that. We also have a Water Smart grant in for some new meters up north. So we're all kind of looking to the future, trying to improve our systems. That's a short-term local issues. If there are any questions, I can answer now or segue on to the big news, which has been all about the Colorado River, and just let you know, I'm sure you've read most of it, but I'll let you know where things stand as we've seen it lately. So
Just go right into the Colorado River, because that's.
The obvious made headlines daily, multiple times a day. Commissioner put down a 60-day challenge to save 2 to 4 million acre feet. Deadline was August 16th. Nothing specific came out on August 16th, so the interim guidelines and the DCP actions were taken routinely, as was expected, with no changes. There continue to be a lot of flurries of letters, statements, activities, and I'm sure some negotiations. Clearly, the upper basin took an early stance that, based on the use, approximately 10 million acre feet of consumptive use in the lower basin, traditionally about 4.5 million acre feet in the upper basin, down to 3.5 last year, given the conditions, that this was a lower basin problem. And that's where the upper basin left it, although they did commit their 5-point plan, which is something we're gonna have to continue to monitor. They are bringing back System Conservation Pilot Program. That's where voluntary payments to diverters allow water to stay in the stream. Doesn't necessarily guarantee it gets down to Powell, but you forego diversions. It was used in all the upper basin states, in Colorado, primarily around the Grand Valley area. So we'll see how that plays out. They agreed to start another DROA, Drought Response Operating Agreement, where they will release additional water out of either Navajo, Aspinall, or Flaming Gorge. This year, they're dropping 500,000 acre feet out of Flaming Gorge. Last year, Aspinall dropped some, went below the boat ramps. Navajo has yet to release. They've been in the drought and not had the water to release. So they're going to start that for next year. So there may be another release out of any of those 3 reservoirs, but it's a process, no guarantee yet. Thirdly, they want to use some of the infrastructure money to improve measurement and management infrastructure, gauges, probably potentially snow-tell type things, and get better water management infrastructure in the upper basin. Around here, we've been measuring water pretty diligently since long before I got here. Big news a couple years ago, Division 6 is requiring gauges on all diversions. So there were a few places where Colorado maybe wasn't strict. But when you think of Division 1, South Platte, Arkansas River, because of compacts and high use, those have been strict for 50 plus years. Rio Grande's on tight compact for the last 2 to 3 decades. They've been very tight on diversions, along with their well management and state engineers' orders. And here in Division 7, we've been pretty strict, and Division 4 along the Colorado River's always had measurement, but we're gonna tighten that up in the upper basin. They also agreed that they will bring back and consider demand management. That was the only commitment they left. But that's something to pay attention later this fall. Finally, they pointed out that we do follow prior appropriation, and so we are living within the supplies provided as a nod to the lower basin to get on board. Since then, Southern Nevada sent out a lengthy letter, and the most latest was from municipalities in most of the basin states. Central Arizona, Denver Water, Southern Nevada jumped on again, Metropolitan Water out of the LA area, all talking about increased conservation. And most recently, the state passed payments for removing grass. It'll get set up next year. So you're going to see a lot more talk about conservation all over. But that's kind of where it stands right now. Southwestern's had some good presentations on this issue and some others. The Bureau's come out with how the physical releases come out of Powell. And physically, the short answer is once you lose power pool, you lose control, and Meade's going to crash shortly thereafter, and therefore nobody's going to get their water no matter what rights you have. And so there probably will be a potential continued discussion about a deal going forward. Add on $4 billion out of the most recent federal legislation, and there's lots of potential. So stay tuned and could get interesting. Right now, most folks in Colorado, as best I can tell, we are following our commissioner's lead behind that UCRC letter and standing pat with that. But we'll have to watch how these 5 points implement, particularly system conservation and demand management. You can't lose sight that the Bureau at the same time started the pre-NEPA process for the 2026 renegotiations. And so all this is juggling at one time. So times will be interesting to say the least. As winter winds down, hopefully we can work closer with MVI and our other water users over the winter on some of these issues, Ute Farm included. But that's where it stands for now. We're all just trying to get through the season and wind it up and hopefully have all our farmers successful. I think that's probably the news as it stands today, but I'll stand for questions.
Okay.
I don't have any questions.
Paul?
No, I don't.
Gerald? I'll hand everything over to the water guy.
It's like he said, all these negotiations will be going on for the next several years but we better be on board in 26, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And we better have a plan.
Which is only a few years away, which, at our NACO conference that we had in July, when is the BOR actually gonna let Lake Mead go down? I mean, it just doesn't work with what they're trying to do there. I mean, it's dragging all this water out of the Colorado River. I don't know if you can answer that question, but that's what we're all asking is when are you going to turn the faucet off in the lower basin? It is a lower basin problem, and we're paying the price. So the upper basin, these states up here are the ones that I think you just said we were at 3-point-something million acre feet, and we're way below where we're supposed to be. So we've turned our faucet off, but the lower basin can't seem to do that. And
you're right on.
It just doesn't work. I mean, the Colorado River only has X amount of water in it. You can't keep letting it go out the lower end. So
We're not like the government can print water. We can't.
Exactly.
We're doing everything we can up here to conserve it and utilize it to, what's the term I want to use, the proper term, to extinction.
Beneficial use?
Or extinction to a beneficial use, but
And within our allocation and within the
and within our
priority system,
allocation. But
living within
We're-
the supply.
Yeah, we're
You know-
living within our rules, and a lot of them aren't. You know, they're not living up to their obligation.
So they've spent the bank account, the
Yes.
two
They-
reservoirs.
they've spent
And that
more than the bank account.
realization is on the wall. The elephant in the room is California has seniority. But even they are recognizing that won't work if it can't get through the two reservoirs. And so you do see the big junior, Arizona, taking the planned cuts agreed to 3 years ago. So there are additional cuts coming next year. But beyond that, you see Arizona scrambling to get California on board. And that's more a political issue than a legal issue. And so we'll see what happens. So the realization's more out there, but I can tell you the lower basin does not understand how it works up here. When they talk about first cuts, you know, that they've ever really had, shortages. And nobody's lived up here more than a decade without some kind of shortage.
Yeah, we're getting used to cuts.
Right.
Which we shouldn't.
So if nothing else, the realization's there and the numbers are showing it and the reservoirs are crashing. So we'll see. It's gonna be interesting. Hey, one last thing to note, obviously, Senator Bennett and others are pushing the NCA and with your support and all. But what'll be important for us locally, in addition to that, is we haven't set up the next M&R team. We saw results from last year, bad as it was, with the monsoons we did get, that the native fish did not crash. We've had additional monsoons. Slick Rock was up around 200 over the weekend storms. So it'll be interesting to see how those fishery are doing, as that's a major component of our interest downriver, obviously. So we haven't set that up. We've traditionally had fall and spring. My guess is we'll set up a spring, primarily Steve Garcher, Dolores County, and DRBA are going to be, we're the co-chairs at the last meeting. And so they'll be setting something up. Obviously, Gerald, you're on that. And we haven't talked about it. Wait season get over, but that's one of the things we want to always keep our eye on, is how the downstream fishery's doing. And I was pleasantly surprised it did as well as it did last year. So it'll be good to see what we find this year. And then we obviously have an active trout group upstream. I was interested in the beaver comments. There's a lot of talk about that upstream. In our case, at least, it'll be on Forest Service, but that's a future conversation with that outstanding waters going through the CDPHE process. We're kind of following that, somewhat supportive, working with the group, although we're not an active supporter. You know, we hope to protect those trout species, particularly the, I don't know, the cutthroats. I don't know if the technical, I don't think they're even identified as endangered because they weren't exactly known well. But I think the green cutthroat are endangered. So anyway, we're hopeful that staying on national forests and protective in the upstream doesn't affect anybody, from cattlemen to irrigators, but we're monitoring that. So we got our species issues on both sides to monitor. But no new news there. But when we get an M&R team, we'll let you guys know.
Okay.
It's, and I'm just gonna ask this out there, I don't know, because we have, out at Lewis, we've got a beaver working out there in a stream. And I know that there's two more on that little stream, I don't even know where it originates, but is population density growing in beavers and forcing them downstream, or is it water going, forcing them downstream? Are they looking for water downstream? Do you have any idea?
No, that's a great question. I'd like to know more because they're talking about the need upstream.
Yeah.
I've heard people who know more than I say that relocation hasn't been very effective. So
They'd
they're
like to
talking.
go home, I know that.
And they talk about these analogs. Yeah, I've heard it. Firsthand accounts of they'll beat you back.
Yeah.
If you try that. So hopefully expansion may work, but they're also talking about these analogs where they go kind of make their own little temporary dams up in the higher streams. And hopefully that's a build it and they will come, make it look enticing beaver development, I guess. So I don't know the ins and outs, the reality of how that works, and it is something if it's going to be talked about under either outstanding waters or something, I'd like to hear that a little bit more detail.
So we need to get planning in here for beaver subdivisions, is that?
Yeah, I haven't even figured out the labels, but yeah, you can see it rising in the literature.
Yeah, it is.
Gotcha.
Don't be surprised, because I don't know what people are doing, but Saturday, when we were up on the mountain, at the fire tower up there, prairie dogs in that flat right there by the fire tower. Now somebody's moving them up there. Somebody's transplanting. I don't think they'll survive there, but it's not just there. They've put them in 2 or 3 places around up there in those flats. But you can't convince me they got there other than somebody bringing them, because there's nothing in between all the way down to Mancus where they're at.
Yeah, somebody had to give them a ride.
Somebody's shipping them around. So don't be surprised as far as these beaver and everything else that people do lots of crazy things.
So it'd be a great question if you have a regular update from CPW, because obviously they have their fingers in all of this, beyond just the wolf issues that I'm sure soon to be introduced somewhere in the Southwest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ongoing challenges. Good luck.
Yeah, a lot of challenges I think we're in for the next few years that are close. So, thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to see you, and have a great day.
All right, enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna jump right into our unfinished business, which we've already taken care of 3 of the 4 items that we have. Our Fairgrounds Arena Solar Interconnection Study, we talked about this yesterday in our workshop, basically went over the entire study with our Fairgrounds manager, Justin McGuire, and basically in conclusion that there are no issues with the interconnection with the solar array that is proposed out there, other than some harmonic distribution monitoring, I think. Not sure what that is, but that's what it stated in there. So other than, we do have this study. It's an 8-page study that was done by a firm in the Front Range. So I think that we have complied with everything there that we need to comply with. And that's really it in a nutshell. It will be in the packet that we have in our public records. With that, I'm going to go down to our county attorney's report. Mr. McLaren.
The biggest thing I have to report is concerning the petition that Tina Peters, the Secretary of State candidate, filed, naming our county clerk and all of the other county clerks in Colorado as defendants. Also, the Secretary of State was named in that lawsuit. In essence, what counsel for Ms. Peters asked was for the recount that was being done to be stopped and turned over to the Secretary of State to conduct. The clerks would be removed from the recount and they would become observers. Counties were requested to bear the costs up to any costs that had been incurred up to the time of this request, and then the state general fund would pay for the recount conducted by the Secretary of State. That's in essence what was requested. Just this morning, actually just during this meeting, briefs have been filed. The court did order a briefing on jurisdictional issues in that case. In essence, the Secretary of State and the counties have banded together to argue that the court doesn't have jurisdiction to address this situation. The recount's complete, it's done, there's nothing more to do, and so under the statutory scheme as it exists, the argument is that this is moot, this is done. There's no mechanism to conduct this recount, and really we need finality. Obviously, counsel for Ms. Peters is continuing to argue that the recount is appropriate, and so briefs for that just came in this morning. The briefing on the county side has been a collaborative effort between county attorneys throughout the state, and so a common defense group has been set up, and that brief was filed on behalf of all of the county clerks. Again, this just came in within the last hour or so, and so we'll await a decision on that, but that's been something that I've been working on and looking over and helping a little bit with, and so that's where we're at in that case. Other than that, it's just been a lot of day-to-day stuff. No big updates on our civil cases.
Okay, all right, thank you. Travis?
Just a couple of things. Was able to attend the 5x5 meeting, and I'll let these gentlemen expound if they so choose. However, it was an excellent meeting. A lot of collaboration appears to want to start occurring in the future. When we're talking about the water, I didn't realize the significance. I hear about the water problems probably 2 or 3 times a week. So got an opportunity to go to Southwest Basin Tour. We'll be doing that on Thursday with myself and our grant writer in economic development. Obviously, water is significant when it comes to economic development. So we're going to be doing a Southwest tour starting in Durango and ending up at the Ute Mountain Farms. So, and just looking at different projects, how we can better conserve water, what we can do to make our water better. The Utes have a good project that they're looking at trying to pull from Lake Nighthorse because they've got a lot of water over there. So we're going to be meeting with their attorney, myself and Drew, and the manager from Mancus to see what we can do to assist in moving that project.
Okay, thank you. All right, James, I see you walked in the room, so we'll see what you have for us today.
Good morning.
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 Just want to let the commissioners know I did attend the BLM Big Game Corridors Management Amendment process last week. About half the meeting, it was about a 2-hour meeting, about half the meeting was introductions and the usual kind of stuff that you'd expect. One thing I would say about it, this is very, very narrowly targeted towards oil and gas. And I think BLM realized that, and one of the things that they're doing is they're really asking for input on other things besides oil and gas that have an impact out there on the big game management corridors. And that would include things along the lines of recreation, of course, but also renewable energy projects, things like solar, wind, things of that nature. So they are trying to take a broader look at it than I think what was intended to start with. So from my perspective, I think that's pretty good. I think all those things have a heavy impact, or can have heavy impact, and to narrowly focus it on oil and gas seems pretty unrealistic to me. So I think it's good to take a broader look at it. So we'll be beginning to go through that scoping process on that. We won't have anything back from the BLM for a while on that, but we'll try to bring forward some scoping comments for them on that. Also attended the CFLRP Places and Projects Coordination Committee meeting. We're really kind of working through a lot of the treatment options that we've got, and trying to set some targets for how many acres and things like that we need to get treated out of that process. Again, it's across the entire forest, so I'm trying to advocate strongly to get some work done in Montezuma County. I'm also applying for the Coordination Council for the CFLRP. And again, I think that once we get some projects finalized and targeted, I want to make sure we have strong advocacy for Montezuma County in that too. I did attend the City of Cortez City Council meeting last Tuesday. Updated them on the Paso Mesa Verde meeting, or trail, and saw Kent was there. So I wanted to kind of go over that a little bit with the commissioners. I think we're doing pretty good on all that right now. We've concluded the initial Transportation Alternatives Grant, which came in 2014, so that part's under all completed. And we're moving on to the stuff on the Mancus side. We've got the Colorado the Beautiful grant, and that one has come to a close, and so we're doing the final closeout reporting on that one. We have the Federal Lands Access Program grant, and we're currently underway with that one. And so that one should yield us the 100% design by 2024, and we're scheduled for construction again in 2026 on that one. So that one has been matched. That had the big match component, and we've been able to meet that match by landing another MMOF project. And so we feel like we've got the clear on everything we were supposed to raise for the local match on that. So we should be moving ahead, and I think all that should be, given any of the complications we've got with the inflation and stuff like that, should be still scheduled for 2026. On the Cortez side, we've got an MMOF grant that's in play right now, and by this time next year, we should have the shovel-ready plans for that, and that's what our objective is really to have everything shovel-ready by 2024, and that way we should be in line. They're having another round of the FLAP funding that should come up about that time, and so we should be in line for that funding, hopefully. And then we have Segment A, which we also have an MMOF grant fund for, and that one again, the target should be to get us shovel ready by 2024 in that one also. That one's a little more complicated. We still need to secure some right-of-way on that one and pick the final alignment. But anyway, as soon as we get ourselves under contract with the state, we should be able to advance that one also. So wanted to come down to some key funding obligations that we ought to be keeping in mind for the 2023 budget. So the 2020 MMOF match was a 50-50 split with the county, and that was $15,000, so that should be about $7,500 per party. And so that's something that we need to go ahead and plan on and budget for. And then we also have the added complication of putting together a couple plans that were eligible for some additional federal grant money. And we need a benefit cost analysis, and we also need a safety plan, which would make us eligible for the Safe Route to School. We're looking at about a $7,500 split on that. We're originally looking at splitting that 3 ways between Town of Mancus, City of Cortez, and the county. The Town of Mancus has already raised $15,000 for it, so it's up to us and the City of Cortez to come up with the other match on that. I want to go back to the match that we have in play for the 2020 MMOF, which was the 50-50 split. I'm sorry, that was the 70-30 split with the Town of Mancus. So basically what I'm thinking is that we could essentially call it a wash. What we should bill them is about $16,000. So we could call it a wash basically on that benefit cost analysis, and then go ahead and bill the city for the $7,500. That way everybody's kind of essentially got their split in there. So I think worst case scenario, what we ought to budget for is about $15,000 for our share of any of the matching funds, and to help pay for the additional planning that we need. So anyway, at this point, we've got an avenue forward to cover most of that, but I do think that's something we ought to probably keep in mind to fit into the budget. Okay. So that brings us down to the Ihop Affordable Innovative Housing Grant. So we have gotten 2 responses from interested consultants on that. We're doing an evaluation process on that, scoring those consultants, and then we'll let the the consultant that's ahead know sometime here by the end of the week, and bring that back to the commissioners next Tuesday.
So is Jessica helping you with that, or who's helping with that?
Okay, well, I'm the project lead on that, so yeah, but the whole team is working on that. So I've just assigned the scoring to Jessica, Nicole. So we should have at least 5 team members that are providing scoring, looking over the proposals that we've been given. I would say, really, gentlemen, these both of them are qualified firms. They're neck and neck. I mean, when it comes down to it, you know, virtually the same. So we'll pick the one that seems to stand out to everybody the most and make that recommendation. The last thing I wanted to bring to the commissioner's attention is that we've had a citizen that's called in with some concerns about fire danger up there at the Pinion Hills subdivision. That's on the west side of McPhee Reservoir. What they're particularly interested in is what appears to be that strip of land between Road 25 and Road V.4, I believe it is, which is it's a private road that's the internal road for that subdivision. That's at the top of the hill there. And so, of course, the county takes care of everything that's in our right-of-way, and I think we do a good job of mowing it. It doesn't look from the aerial photography like we have a lot of heavy vegetation in that area. Rob seems to think it's in pretty good shape. So really what's at issue, I think, is a little bit of vegetation is between the road and the top of that hill, and that's all Forest Service. So I'll let Derek know about that, and we'll see if we can't connect Derek, possibly with Rebecca Samolsky with WAP or somebody along those lines, to see if we can't go out there, evaluate the situation, and see if there's something that can be done. It's a pretty small area. It shouldn't take a lot of work if if somebody's available to do it.
It's at the top of the hill?
Yeah, it's at the top
So
of the hill.
what was the concern?
Well, I think the concern is that somebody would throw a lit cigarette or something like that out the door into the right-of-way and would burn up that hillside and into the subdivision. You know, personally, I've looked at that. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot of concern there, and not a lot more that you could be doing to really protect that area. That outside looping road provides pretty good protection at the top of the hill there. Now, there is some pinyon, juniper in a couple of areas through there, but it's not a wide swath of it by any means. But again, if the Forest Service can take a look at it and say, hey, we can do a little thinning, a little trimming or something like that, and help that subdivision feel a little better, happy to work with them to try to do that. But it's a pretty small area and it shouldn't really take a whole lot.
Okay.
That concludes my report, gentlemen. Have anything for me?
No.
I do not. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay, with that, we're to our commissioners' report. To my left.
This past week, I attended the Mancus Town meeting. They had a fairly short meeting, probably as short a one as they've had recently. There wasn't much going on there. Then me and Commissioner Lindsay and Administrator Anderson attended the 5x5 meeting down at Toyoak, and like Mr. Anderson said, there was a real good turnout. All the municipalities and the tribe was there, and it was a good communication, and found out about different projects that all of the different groups are doing, and had some good discussion about that.
Good.
Yeah, it was a really good meeting. I think somebody stated it was the second time in history that we'd all been in the room at the same time, so we're getting there.
Good.
The Ute tribe has a pretty aggressive agenda for down there, and good luck to them. I hope they can get it all accomplished, because they're really moving. Dolores didn't have much, and Mancus talked to Queenie a little bit. They're reevaluating their sewer charges. So, but other than that, I went to the Cortez City Council meeting, and like Gerald, it was pretty short. They didn't do much. They had, of course, a presentation from James, and they renewed a couple of contracts, one for GIS with Doug in here. And so that was about the size of it.
Good deal. Well, For the first time in a long time, I actually took a vacation and took my wife on a birthday extravaganza. So my report is, other than our discussion with our workshop yesterday, which we discussed our interconnection survey study at the Fairgrounds, which we've discussed already today. And then we had an update with our grant writer, specifically as it related to the projects that she's working on. One specifically is our Alkali Creek Bridge. And other than that, that is my report.
All right.
So, gentlemen, anything else?
No, motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second?
Been moved and seconded to adjourn this August 30th, 2022 meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.